This is Coding Bat Java Logic 2 loneSum. Given three int values a, b, and c, return their sum. However, if one of the values is the same as another one of the values, it does not count towards the sum. For example, if we have 1 plus 2 plus 3, the sum is 6. If we have 3 plus 2 plus 3, because 3 for a and 3 for c are the same, they don't count towards the sum, and our sum is only 2, which is b. If all three of them are the same, none of them count, so we get 0. So this one seems really easy. As a human, we could look at any three numbers and easily do this, but it's just a little more complicated in logic, because we want to make sure none of them equal each other, and if they do, we have to take them both out. So how do we do that? Well, let's start by seeing if any of them are equal. So if a is equal to b and b is equal to c, that means all three of them would be equal, right? Because if a equals b and b equals c, then we know a equals c. So we're going to go ahead and return 0 if that's the case, because none of them would count. Otherwise, if that is false, we know that for a fact all three of them are not equal, which means at least one of them is different. So we could say else if a equals b, meaning a and b would be the same, but because this was false, we know for a fact c is not the same, then it's safe for us to go ahead and return c. We're not returning the sum of all three because these two are the same, so they don't count towards the sum. But because they're not all the same, we know c is different from a and b, so we can return c as the sum of all three minus the two that are the same, which are a and b. Else if a equals c, if we get to this point, we know that a does not equal b, because this is false. We know that all three of them are not the same because this is false. So if a equals c, then they're the same, but b would have to be different. So we can go ahead and return b. And then we're going to do the same thing again, else if b equals c. If we've gotten to this point, all three of them cannot be the same. A cannot be equal to b, a cannot be equal to c, but there's still a possibility that b does equal c, even though they're not all the same. So if that's the case, we want to return a, because that would be the only one that's different. At this point, we have checked to ensure that all three of them are not identical, and any two of them are not identical. If we get to this point, none of these have returned, that means none of them match. And if none of them match, we want to return the sum of a, b, and c. We run this, we can see that they all pass.